The future of hi-fi looks a lot like the past. Again? First it was with speakers, then with amplifiers, and now with, well, mini CD players. For crazy audiophiles, the CD never went away, but for the mainstream, it definitely did. But now we're seeing a bit of a shift. So why are portable CD players showing up again in 2025? 40 years after the first one came out. Well, that's what we're going to try to figure out today. And spoiler, I don't think it has anything to do with sound. I think it has to do with something much bigger. So stick around, because what's going on with mini CD players, with vinyl, even with cassettes, I think tells us a lot about where hi-fi and culture itself is headed. Back in 1984 in Japan, but in 1985 here, Sony created, the Discman. And just like this official Sony Walkman, it changed everything. It changed culture. But here's the important part. The Sony Discman was actually the beginning of the end, because Sony created the beginning of portable music with the Walkman and the Discman. But they were also 10 years late when it came to the portable MP3 player. And the portable physical media party was over. The iPod was everywhere, and the thought of lugging around a folder full of CDs, that just sounded weird. Because convenience always wins until there's something more convenient. Most of us probably don't even have the files downloaded on our phones anymore. And for the mainstream, that meant that portable CD players were gone and dead forever. Or at least that's what we thought, because 40 years later, well, these things are making a comeback. Which raises the actual important question. Why are people choosing inconvenience rather than convenience? Fast forward to today and something weird is happening. Well, vinyl came back, and for the most part is doing very well. CDs are showing signs of life, and you can walk into any Target and pick up a K-pop deluxe edition CD set, and it's not just niche anymore. It's at Target. Record Store Day was really the catalyst for all of this. And here's the thing, it's not just us middle-aged audiophiles that are driving this comeback. It's a younger audience. People who never grew up with physical media are discovering it for the first time. And what they're really discovering isn't at all about sound quality. Because if it was about the perfect sound quality, they would be streaming lossless on their phone or on a streamer. It's actually about ownership, ritual, meaning. Putting a piece of vinyl on a turntable or taking a CD and putting it in a CD player is an intentional act, one that has inherent friction and inherent work involved. Streaming is infinite, but infinite is boring. A CD or a record forces you to be involved, to be intentional, and usually to listen to the track that's on that CD. And that's why the resurrection of physical media is very important, because it's not about nostalgia. It's about asking a much bigger question. What happens when an entire generation chooses inconvenience over convenience and sound quality? So your favorite song, your favorite artist is just one click away. It's endless. In the streaming era, songs, music are no longer scarce. But the thing that is scarce now is connection, or even being able to hold it. You go to your shelf, you choose the album, you open it up, take the CD out, place the disc, and press play. And that little act of friction creates commitment. Bit of a side note, this was sent to me by Mark, one of my patrons, and he wrote up a little essay about why this album is important. This is why this is important. What you're saying when you choose a CD or an album is that you're willing to exchange 45 minutes of your time to give it attention. It's a lot like church. There's preparation, there's anticipation, there's ceremony, there's ritual, and all of that primes you for a deeper experience. Streaming, on the other hand, is like showing up 5 minutes late in sweatpants and leaving 20 minutes later. Technically, you were there, but did it mean anything? Think about what it took just to go buy a CD. You had to get in your car, you had to drive, you had to pull out your wallet. You went in not always knowing what you were going to choose. Sometimes you would flip through the stacks and find something unexpected. Sometimes you might overhear a conversation and walk out with a record you didn't even think you were going to get because somebody was passionate about something they had heard. The unknown part was part of the magic. You didn't just push a button, you discovered something. Now you can discover stuff on streaming, absolutely. I'm not saying you should only use physical media, but what I'm talking about is something deeper that I think a lot of people are missing. But the effort, the anticipation, even if we didn't realize it, gave the music more meaning, more worth, and in many instances, appreciation. It was also carefully curated. You couldn't buy everything, so what you did walk out with was something that was, at least in your brain at the moment, better than everything else. Playlists live on a screen, and if your battery goes dead, well, that playlist goes away. A CD lives on a shelf. And for most of us, it's a physical anchor of when we got this record or CD to begin with. And that permanence creates meaning that streaming can never have. Therefore, a CD player is not a piece of gear anymore. Just like a church, it carries meaning even when the pews are empty and even when this thing isn't spinning. It carries meaning simply by existing, and a reminder that music deserves more than just convenience. If you've made it this far, obviously you care about music, and I appreciate you indulging me about the romanticism of physical media. So if you're enjoying this, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. And if you want to support the channel, you can click through to my store. I got these cool cassette wallets. I'm very proud of them. I also have some RCA cables in there you can check out, and some coffee. This is built to last, and when you pull it out, it reminds you to binge listen. So thank you. And it's not just about CDs and vinyl making a comeback, because these things are new. This was released last year. A portable cassette player, for goodness sake. And we're not just seeing a trend with portable cassette players or tiny plastic CD players. We're seeing it everywhere, even film photography. You can go to Target right now and buy a turntable. At first glance, it may look like this is just retro chic, the cultural appropriation of our physical media. It's not that simple. There's something way deeper going on here. Psychologists will tell us that people crave connection, not just with other people, but with things. We need tangible anchors, physical reminders that ground us in reality. A photo that you can hold in your hand or put in a frame and on your wall means way more than one that you show to somebody on a phone. The same thing holds true for a CD or a record. This is the reason why I don't think people can really fathom it, especially if you watch my channel. Because we, if you're my age, 10 years younger, 10 years older, 20 years older, we lived it. You know all of the friction involved with going to get a CD or a record. And we think, what is the big deal anyway? But if we think about this, almost 2 generations at this point never had to do that. Many of them have never gone to a record store before. For them, music has always been instant, invisible, disposable. But here's the really interesting thing. It's almost like music insists upon reverence. It demands it. When it doesn't get it, there's a subconscious movement that most people don't even understand. A movement back to physical media. And here's the reason I think why. Friction is built into the DNA of music. From the beginning of time, creating music required effort. Our ancestors had to carve flutes from bones, and they had to get the bones, stretch skins across something to create a drum. Not only was there involvement, there was flat out danger. Even in our lifetime, obviously, we had to save up the money, we had to mow lawns, we had to throw the papers just to get that CD that had one good song on it. If you strip away all that friction, something is inherently lost. In our sanitized digital world, it just feels hollow. Even if we don't realize it feels hollow. Which is why I think deep down, people are searching for meaning. Something that's real. Because I think it's hardwired into us. That's why these resurrections matter. And the human search for something authentic. And I think we have a compulsive need to make it matter. So what does all this mean? Well, I think the future of hi-fi isn't linear. It's not just some journey towards sonic nirvana. It doesn't move forward in a straight line. It loops. It means some music physical media formats don't die, they hibernate, waiting for when culture is ready for them again. And right now, culture doesn't crave better sound. We have more fidelity than most people can appreciate. What we really crave are anchors, artifacts, authenticity. Things that give music weight in a world that seems weightless. Speaking of weightless, this thing feels super cheap. Super light. Feels like it's made out of helium, but it actually sounds okay. And this video isn't about the Moondrop Disc Dream 2, but the Moondrop Disc Dream 2 is what led to me making this video. I was trying to put some meaning behind it. And because it's about meaning, it's also about reverence, about friction. For most of human history, listening to music required friction. It required work. You killed the animal, cleaned it, took out a bone, made a flute, stretched the skin to make a drum. Thank goodness we don't have to do that anymore. But that effort was part and parcel to listening to music. And if you strip that away, then something is missing. So when people go buy a record or a CD, they're not searching for the best sound. Now, they're not mutually exclusive, but I think what most people are searching for is connection. And maybe without even realizing it, they're answering a deeper call. One that has been hardwired into us since we were singing songs in a cave. So yeah, 40 years later, the Moondrop Disc Dream 2 reminds me a lot of the Sony Discman. But it reminds me that the future of hi-fi looks a lot like the past. Again. If you like this video, why don't you check out my video on the Sony Discman that nobody watched. I'll put it right here. It's really a good video though, so check it out. I'll put another one up here about cassettes and the cultural impact cassettes had and why it's one of the most important physical media formats ever. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you watching.